Hey there, welcome to the One Brain Four Wheels channel. It's the Gare Bear here like always, and in today's video, I'm back with the Fiero, and kind of reading some of the comments from the last Fiero video that I made, I want to go ahead and talk a little bit more specifically about what actually happened with my engine and kind of my plans going forward. And I also want to go ahead and discuss a little bit more in detail why I bought this car and why it means so much to me already, even having only owned it for about 6 months now. So go ahead and stay tuned and find out more. Okay, so diving into what's wrong with my engine, I got a lot of shit, at least from one guy in my last video specifically, when I said that my engine was broken. And, he did say that, I don't really know a whole lot about engines, or at least it appears that I don't. And to be very, honest with you guys, and I'm pretty honest, I think, in a lot of my videos, I don't know a lot about engines and how they work. I'm not an expert mechanic by any means. I'm learning. That's why I made this channel. However, I am a researcher in my day job, and I do know how to diagnose things. And based on the symptoms that I saw with my engine, I've been able to kind of deduce that it is in fact broken. Specifically, I think I seized up my engine. So going back a little bit and giving you guys some background information, when I bought this vehicle back in September of 2018, it ran pretty well, for given its age and everything. However, it did leak a lot of oil. There was a lot of oil, not necessarily like all around the engine compartment, but coming out of the bottom. The oil pan was leaking a hell of a lot. The front of the plenum, I found there was an oil leak. And so I always had an issue with my oil pressure, and also I was having an issue with the tachometer at idle, or I shouldn't say the tachometer, but my engine speed at idle would fluctuate quite a bit. I had to get that taken care of before it could pass smog, which a lot of that did end up stemming from not having good oil pressure. So kind of going into this with the thought that I always have issue with oil pressure, but it always maintains okay. So my engine, I had everything pretty much running really good at this point. Because I had been working on it myself, and I also had a really good mechanic down in my local town, and they were able to kind of help me out with some of these like finicky things that I couldn't really figure out, kind of delving into that idle issue and discovering that was really like an oil pressure thing. It was related. So anyhow, moving the story along, early March rolls around, and I'm like, you know what? Everything's running pretty good. I just finished up a project on the inside. Let's go ahead and drive this thing to the Bay Area, and I'll drive it for a week while I'm at work. So I go ahead and start my commute like average pretty early on a Monday morning, and I'm going over the Yolo Causeway in it kind of goes between Sacramento, our capital, and Davis, California, where I went to school. And that area is really notorious for it's a causeway, so it's kind of like a raised bridge that goes over like a wetlands area that kind of floods. People speed on there like crazy, lots of trucks because it's Interstate 80. So there's not really anywhere to pull over, and it's at least a couple miles long. So I'm driving on that. Everything had been totally fine. I had noticed that my oil pressure was a little lower, but I always had this issue, and it always maintained okay. It never dropped too low or anything like that. Like literally right after I get onto the causeway, all of a sudden I lose oil pressure. Everything runs fine, but the oil pressure completely like flat out. So I was thinking in my mind, and I don't know a whole lot about cars. I know no oil pressure is not good though. But everything was running fine. I didn't get any smell, any smoke, really no different response from the engine. And unfortunately, there's really not anywhere to pull over on that road because the little edges, the shoulder is very small there. I did get in the slow lane, so I was going slower, as slow as I could be. But unfortunately for that whole stretch, I was still going, and unfortunately, right after the causeway ends, there's an exit there, and as I was pulling off that exit, I got I still had my foot on the gas, but the engine was just it was slowing down, and I was just going to just go ahead and turn off the engine myself. But at that point, the engine cut out, and that was pretty much the last time she ran, unfortunately. And that sucks a lot, because I actually I wish I had documented it, but I learned probably the most about cars that I have up to this point from this vehicle. I've done little things on the Suburban and the Cadillac. I've done a lot on the Cadillac, actually. It's on the other side of the garage door right now. But I'd actually gotten up under here myself. I had actually had planned a vacation the week after I got this car. I was leaving. And during that week, while I had free time, I actually had this thing up on jack stands almost immediately. I didn't really get to enjoy it right after I bought it. And I pretty much, on these vehicles, to go ahead and fix the oil pan gasket leak, you almost have to lift this the whole engine up a little bit to be able to get the pan out. Which that's a pretty big deal for me, because I mean, you have to remove the alternator, kind of take apart the AC compressor, disconnect the starter underneath. That was a big job for me, and this was a car I wasn't familiar with. But it was worth it because I really wanted to learn how to work on this car. And I'll get into it later, but I really have been wanting a Fiero for a very long time. They do have a little special place in my heart. But yeah, so I had a lot of time and my own personal experiences and memories kind of built into this car. So that was a pretty shitty day, to be honest with you. And it sucks even more because kind of thinking about it, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot I could do. I could have pulled over in the shoulder, but honestly, people do drive really quick on that stretch of road, and this isn't necessarily the safest vehicle. If I could do it over again, I would probably try to see how long I could have coasted without running the engine. But, I mean, it was a long stretch of road, so I'm not really sure what I could have done. It just kind of sucks because had it been anywhere else, I would have just pulled over as soon as I saw the gauge flatline like that. Or even if I'd gotten any smoke smell or anything, I'm actually kind of surprised because if it didn't have any oil pressure and it seized up, I'm not really sure. I opened up the engine and right at the very end, the car was already off and I was already off the side of the road at that point and it was dead. There was a little bit of smoke in here, but honestly, there was nothing. Except for the fact that when I went to then restart it later after it cooled, and I wasn't even getting any cranking because the engine seized, so the starter can't work anymore at this point. It's not going to turn anything. That's when I realized, oh shit, it seized. But up until that point, I wasn't even sure what had happened. But yeah, it's pretty anticlimactic story there. But yeah, that kind of blows, to be honest with you guys. Because, I did have some money, put into just kind of bringing it back up to a good solid state. Because when I bought it, it hadn't really been maintained at all. And I felt like literally that weekend I had fixed something. I did a video on it, but I'd kind of fixed up the AC controls. You guys can't see anything in here, can you? It's too dark. But I'd fixed up the AC controls. It looks great in here. You can't see it, but it looks fantastic. Looks great. But yeah, it just sucks because this was at a perfect state for me right now. I was just gonna leave it kind of as is and enjoy it for a month or so before I start any other projects, kind of take some time for me, and then that happened, and that really was kind of disappointing. So yeah, unfortunately, since that's happened, I'm not the type of person that really likes to cry over spilled milk, so while that's extremely disappointing, and that just really fucking sucks, to be honest with you guys, I need to think about what I want to do for the future now, this car. I definitely don't want to get rid of it, even though my family would love me to, because they would love to have some more parking in our essentially a used car lot of a front yard. Sorry, neighbors. But I don't really want to get rid of it, although I'm not sure financially if I'm ready to delve into a whole engine swap project. But I do want to think about what I want to do, and I kind of brought that question up to you guys in the last video. Someone suggested a electric kind of conversion, and that is actually pretty interesting. I do need to look into that more. I know that a few of them have been done. I am concerned about the weight issue. Because I've seen a photo of a guy that had a shit ton of batteries up in the front compartment, and I'm not loving that design. But I have also heard that some people will go ahead and where the gas tank is under the center tunnel of this vehicle, you could put a battery up in there. I like the way that kind of sounds, but I have no knowledge in how that works, so I would have to look into that. And then obviously a lot of people do the 3800, is that a Buick engine, supercharged something? I could do that, or I could put in another Iron Duke. Duke? I don't know why I like the way that sounds. Iron Duke. But yeah, well, this one took a deuce on me, so I guess maybe avoid that one for now. But yeah, I'm not really sure what I want to do, but I do want to do something, and this car is not going away. I'm just not sure exactly when I'm going to resume this project at this point. But yeah, honestly, I mean, this car, I only had it for about 6 months running, but it's a fun car, and they're actually pretty cheap if you can get a good deal on one. Some people, if they're collectible, condition, then people are going to be charging a premium because there's not that many out there still running. But if you can get like, one that's like in okay condition, get one that's running, or maybe one that's already had a conversion. That's going to be, well, I think around here there's a couple that have already had a conversion done. They're between like 8 and 12,000 that I've seen like within the past year or so on Craigslist or Auto Trader. But yeah, get something. I'd rather see someone get something that's running and in good mechanical condition, and then you can get a good paint job for not that much for these cars. They're pretty small, and kind of redo the interior if you want to. It's not worth spending, at least in my opinion, that full price for one that's in pristine condition, because people are charging an insane amount. I mean, it's an impressive little car, but even with the stock engines, it's not like a super duper performance car. It handles really well, but especially it depends on the year though. So there's different factors involved. So maybe it might be worth paying a premium depending on which kind of configuration and year that you're getting. But just kind of be wary because the prices are all over the place for these things, at least in California. But yeah, I loved it. It handled great. It was fun kind of rolling the gears again. And it reminded me of the reason why I wanted this car, which was that growing up, this was our family car, essentially, which I know kind of sounds crazy because it's only a two-seater. But my mom, this is actually not this car, but she had a 2M4 86 Fiero in gold. It pretty much had, it looked like pretty much the same as this car, except hers was an auto, and she had like cloth seats and everything, so it looked pretty similar. She did have a different front end. This one's got the kind of arrow bullnose, where she had those like bumper pads on the front. But other than that, it's really dusty, sorry guys. But other than that, it's very similar. Although her gold color did turn into like silver after being in the sun on our side yard for many years. But yeah, growing up, my mom had the Fiero. My dad had a K20, I think 87 or 86 Silverado, or it wasn't a Silverado, it was a Chevy K20 pickup truck. K stand for four-wheel drive. 20 was like a 2500 version, so 3/4 ton pickup. So actually thinking back on that, I guess the truck was our family vehicle because that held 3 people. But my mom would take me to school in this car pretty much every day for many years until she ended up getting an Isuzu Amigo, which was a 2-door, but I think that was a 4-seater little SUV. And then this ended up sitting in our garage and in our side yard for a long time. And then eventually we sold it in 2006 before we moved up to this house. But yeah, I just remember a lot of good memories in that vehicle. It's fun to like look at photos of my parents back when they were younger, and taking that car. They'd go a lot of times down to Carmel and Monterey, that area. They really liked that. And it's just kind of, it reminds me of good times like that. And then, in my early years of childhood, I have fond memories of those times early on. So it reminds me of that. And then when I picked up this car, actually, I have to find the video somewhere. If I can find it, I'd like to put in this video here. But when the day that I picked this up, my mom went with me because I need 2 people, one to drive my other car back, and then I drive this one. And she actually, once the guy left after we bought it, and we kind of took this off the side a little bit, I got her to just take a little spin. And she doesn't, if you knew my mother, she hates all of these things. She's very supportive, but she hates this car. She hates the Cadillac. She doesn't like, she likes nice things. So she loved this Fiero when it was new. It had a new car smell, didn't have ripped seats or anything like that. She's like many parents, she's not into these old things. But it was actually really surprising because as soon as that guy left, she was like, I'll go ahead and take it for a little spin. And that was fun to me. And obviously she wouldn't, it was just like a one-time thing because afterwards she never set foot in this car again. She was very much anti this project. But she understands why I love this car so much and why it means something to me. And it was fun being able to just think back and see her driving that car that one time, and seeing there was a smile on her face, and she enjoyed doing the gear shifting too because she doesn't really do that in any cars. We don't have any other manual cars right now, but yeah, it was fun to watch and I enjoyed that, and I would like to get some more memories of my family with this car because I know I've got the Corvette. It would be fun to kind of get this thing up and running someday and have another little sports car, and then we can do things as a family. Both with my dad and my mom because they're divorced, but I could kind of do things separately and just make kind of road memories with them. Maybe go to the track and do some little family track days or something. It'd be kind of fun. But yeah. But that is the story of the Pontiac Fiero 1988 2M4 with the Dead Iron Duke. And that's pretty much where I am at this point. I have not decided yet what I want to do, but just know that this car will live on. I'm not giving up on it. I just need more time and more money, and I need to think about it. And really, this is going to be a long-term project for the channel for sure. But thank you guys so much for sticking along and watching this video. It's probably longer than I meant for it to be, but anyhow, now you guys know the story. But yeah, go ahead and be on the lookout for some videos I'm going to post that I made before the car died on a few little projects I did around it. Unfortunately, like I said, I didn't actually do a video on me lifting up the engine and changing out the, or redoing the gasket on the oil pan, just because I didn't have the time to be filming and doing things because I had a vacation right in the middle of all that, which that kind of sucks that I wasn't able to film it because it would have been pretty helpful, I think. But yeah, I did some other things, so you guys can see that. And then I've got another video coming out on the Corvette, or yeah, I won't say anything, I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, there's going to be another Corvette video coming out soon as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you next time. And don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you like Fieros.